Good day, my dear students. Hi there. Welcome to this episode of Science Videos, continuing teaching and learning the new normal. I am your teacher, Angelica C. Talanes. You can call me Ma'am Tol, and I will be your teacher in this video. On our last video, we talked about different biomolecules and its structure, the chemical structure and its chemical formula. In this video, we are going to deal with different kinds of foods and classify them to where biomolecules they belong. Aside from that, we are also going to identify the function of each biomolecules. Quiz time! Now let's have a short review of biomolecules, and we'll be giving you 5 seconds to answer each questions. Listen carefully. You can pause this video for you to think about it. Let's start! Number 1. Which of the following is a correct pair? A. Glucose is to disaccharide. B. Starch is to polysaccharide. C. Sucrose is to lipid. You have 5 seconds. Time starts now. The correct answer is letter B. Starch is to polysaccharide. Number 2. Which is the chemical formula of lipid? Letter A. CH3, CH2, and COOH. Letter B. CN, H2O. Letter C. RCH, NH2, COOH. You have 5 seconds. The answer is letter A. CH3, CH2, and COOH. Number 3. Which is not a major source of protein? Letter A. Egg. B. Fish. And letter C. Apple. You have 5 seconds. The answer is C. Apple. Number 4. What is the largest percentage in our human body mass? A. Lipid. B. Protein. C. Carbohydrates. The answer is letter B. Protein. This is fill in the blank. Number 5. What is a biomolecule that doesn't have monomer and polymer? The answer is lipid. Good job! Now that you have basic understanding about the biomolecules, you know now the structure and their chemical formula, let us now give examples and talk about their functions that we need in our daily lives. Do you see this? That's right. This is chocolate. Chocolate is related to our today's discussion. Now, look at the nutrition facts. Let's zoom it out. Do you see carbohydrates? Under carbohydrates, you can see sugar. Sugar is a form of carbohydrates, which means the chocolate that you eat contains carbohydrates. This sugar is a product from the process photosynthesis because the ingredients that is used in making chocolate comes from a plant. Plants produce glucose as the main product. On our last video, glucose is an example of monosaccharide. C6H12O6. Glucose is also known as blood sugar. It is the most abundant sugar in carbohydrates. They use the energy coming from the sun and convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen. And that is the process of photosynthesis. Plants and algae can produce their own food in the form of glucose. And that is the main reason why us humans must eat every day. Because we cannot make our own food. We cannot make glucose. We cannot photosynthesize. There are cases in hospitals where patients cannot eat food. Instead, doctors use dextrose, which is almost identical with glucose. Dextrose is used as a temporary source of energy for patients who cannot eat. It is a temporary source of glucose for them so they can function for their everyday life. Another example for carbohydrates is your fructose. Fructose is commonly known as the fruit sugar. Fruits, honey, the sole sugar in the bowl, and human semen. It is also the sweetest among all sugars. Due to its sweetness, fructose is sometimes used as a low-calorie sweetener because less amount of fructose is used to form the sweetness that the table sugar does. Next one is galactose. Galactose is also known as the milk sugar. Dairy products, milk, and other plants. It is also known as the brain sugar, for it supports long-term memory. Glucose, fructose, galactose, these are just examples of your monosaccharides. Again, monosaccharides are composed of one monomer, and these are the building blocks of carbohydrates. Now let us go to disaccharides. Disaccharides are composed of two monosaccharides, for di means two. Examples. Number 1, glucose combined with fructose will form sucrose, like that of sugar cane. It is also known as your table sugar. Next one, glucose combined with another glucose will form maltose. Maltose is also known as your malt sugar or the sugar present in your beer. Third, glucose combined with galactose will form lactose, also known as the milk sugar. In our body, there is a specific enzyme which will help us digest lactose. Again, lactose is composed of glucose and galactose. It is a disaccharide. But when we digest or when we drink milk products, we break down the bond that is present in glucose and galactose. That is if you can digest lactose. There are some cases where you have lactose intolerance, When we say lactose intolerance, a body cannot digest or break down the bond between galactose and glucose, which means they cannot digest milk products. So how about you? Do you have lactose intolerance? Now that we are done with disaccharides, now let's go with polysaccharides. The module that you are answering every week is mainly composed of cellulose, the cotton fabric that you wear, the wood that you use in construction. These are examples for cellulose. People cannot digest cellulose. That is the main reason why wala kita gakaon hilamon, kay hindi kita matunawan. Only carabaos, cows, and other animals can digest cellulose or these grasses, for they have microorganisms present in their digestive tract. These microorganisms help digest the grasses or cellulose that is being eaten by these animals. Another example of polysaccharide is chitin, the outer covering of the body of some animals like insects and crustaceans. These are your crabs, grasshoppers, your scorpions. This serve as a protection for their body, which is mostly made up of chitin. Unlike cellulose and chitin, starch can be digested. Now let's go to another example of polysaccharide, that is starch. Have you experienced when you're eating bread for a long time, you will soon taste it sweet? Same is true with your rice, pasta, your potatoes. Products coming from potatoes is also an example of starch, like French fries. So what happens when you eat French fries from McDonald's?
Inside the mouth, the French fries is broken down into smaller pieces when we chew. What we can see is that there are enzymes in our saliva and in our stomach and of course in our small intestine that makes the process of digestion faster and easier. The breaking down of food into smaller components such as glucose. So it's from the starch into glucose. The glucose molecule go to the bloodstream. What we want to happen here is that the glucose will enter the cell so our body can use the energy stored in glucose. And for that to happen, hormone insulin will carry the glucose molecule into the cell. Now, what will happen if there are a lot of glucose in our body? The glucose will be stored in the liver as glycogen for later use. Glycogen is another example of polysaccharide. As what they say, too much or too little for anything may lead to some diseases. When blood glucose drops, the pancreas secretes glucagon, which is a hormone, which causes the liver, muscles, and fat to convert glycogen back to glucose. We are done with monosaccharide, disaccharide, and polysaccharide. Let's have a recap.
That's it. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, clarifications, I will be glad to answer all of your questions. I will be saying goodbye now. Goodbye.